Good morning. We are going to get started on a new project today, and we are going to be making something or doing something called metal tooling. It is also called metal embossing, but what it is the art of taking a soft metal and pushing a design in the back side of the metal to make the design show up on the front side of the metal. This is sometimes done in Mexico, but it's also done in a variety of locations. What I am going to do is have you pick something to draw. You could draw a flower, you could draw a bird. You decide. It should be something outdoors, and you need a background, you need an object that is like our focal point. And then what you're going to do is draw it on a piece of paper, and then we'll transfer it onto the foil to make our metal tooling or metal embossing project. I will do the demonstration in just a second. Okay, so your first job is going to be to do an image search for whatever outdoor object you would like to draw. I chose to draw a coneflower because it's my favorite kind of flower. I have done birds before. You could do any type of animal, but it should probably be kind of close up because we do want lots of detail on it. Usually I just pick one thing, one subject matter, and have you do a search for that. For example, birds, and then I have you find the bird that you would like to draw. But I'm going to just try it a little bit different this time to see how it works out. Okay, so what I am going to do is break my object into shapes like I always do. So this is the center of my coneflower, and then I'm going to begin adding to it. Okay, so I have one flower drawn. I'm going to add the stem. I add some leaf detail. And it's okay if things go off the paper down along the edge. I'm actually kind of preferring that happens, okay? So I have some empty space in this area here. I think what I want to do is go ahead and make a second flower. That's just kind of coming up like that. And we're just going to see part of it. So it looks as if this one is kind of in the distance. And then if I would like, I can add some leafy details here also. And maybe that's all I want on my picture. It doesn't bother me that I have some space over here. If it did, I could add a third flower in, or maybe I do want to add something just right in here. Now, the next step of the project is to take your design and put it on a piece of foil. And then you also want to have a piece of felt underneath it. Now, I have felt for you. If you have a double layer of felt, that's great. If you don't, I think it'll still be fine. But what you're going to do is tape this down, and then you're going to trace over your image you don't want a super sharp pencil because it can poke through both the paper and the metal if you're not careful. Okay, so I'm just going to grab 2 pieces of tape. I'm gonna stick it to my pants first to get some of the sticky off so it doesn't rip things. And stick it up here where I don't have any pencil, and then along here where I don't have any pencil. So now it's like this, and I will start tracing. Now, you might, like after you do a couple of lines, just want to check really quick to make sure that it's denting down in. Mine is, so we're good to go. And now I'm just going to keep on tracing. Okay, so I have finished tracing everything. There are a couple of things that I left blank because I decided I didn't like them. I didn't like what it looked like with the little pokey things in the center, so I didn't trace those. And this one leaf didn't look right to me, so I didn't trace those either. So now what I can do is just kind of flip it a little, make sure that it all transferred, and that I didn't miss any spots. And then I can just completely take this off. And now I can see my flowers. For me, it's going to be the front of my project. And you're actually going to be working on both sides of the project, depending on if you need something to sink down in or if you need something to pop up out. So I have a couple of tools that we use for metal embossing. This has just a round edge, same thing on this side, but it's a little smaller. This one's rounded on one side, sharp on the other side, and this one's very sharp, okay? So they're all used for different purposes. For example, I want this center part of my flower to really pop out because on a cone flower, it's like a ball. So I'm going to turn it over and I am going to press inside it all over the place like that. And occasionally I'll flip it over and see if it's popping over or popping out as much as I want it to. It's popping out pretty good on this, but I don't like those lines. So I can kind of keep working with it to smooth it out a little. You do have to be careful because you can end up poking a hole in it if you stretch the metal too much. Okay, so that looks much better to me. Maybe I want to go ahead and do that on the other two. And again, I just kind of keep checking to make sure it's looking the way I want it. So I'm going to use this pokey tool to kind of get those line details into my petals. And this one you have to be very careful with because it will poke through if you push too hard. And you really don't want that to happen. Now, what I'm finding as I'm doing this is that it works a little better pulling towards me instead of pushing away. When I'm pushing away, I almost feel like I am maybe going to poke a hole in it. So I guess I would just recommend that you only pull it towards you. And I'm just going kind of fast because I want to show you the next step. And I would continue on with this, okay? So the next step is adding color using Sharpie. So I have a variety of colors of Sharpie, and I like purple cone flowers, but I also like to mix colors together. So what I'm going to do is use my Sharpies to color in my flower. Like this. Now, just using one color, it's kind of boring, but if I let it dry, which does not take very long, I can go in with another color and brighten it up a bit, or in this case, darken it up a bit. All right, and then I would just continue on doing that until I completely finish all of the flowers. And then you have to decide if you want to do something in your background. If you do, like for this, maybe some blues and greens in the background would look good. Sometimes I suggest like a rainbow look. So you can do something like this, like a red circle basically. It's kind of like we did on that toucan project for those of you that did that. And then we can go like this. And we can add yellow. But it all depends on what colors you used for coloring your project. I wouldn't do that on mine because mine's already pretty colorful. I might just want to leave mine blank if I have it pretty filled in pretty good. I'm just kind of experimenting right now to see, like if I just did blue, kind of like this. So like blobs of dark blue, and then kind of blended the light blue and filled the whole background in that way. That might be cool. So you just kind of have to decide what works for you. Then when we're done Sharpieing, the last step is to mount it down onto black paper. And if we have time, we're going to add some cool details to our black paper as well. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know.